Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Told a lot of lies about achievement. They called you when they got you to believe it. Thumb and finger held to their foreheads in an L shape. Trapped in a capitalist hellscape. Let's fight back and have some talks about class and the massive cost of the disastrous plots of fascists and Nazis, fat cats and fox. It's 1,000 natural shocks. A Bad with Money podcast.
Hello and welcome to 1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Dunn, and with me today we have Mary Houlihan. Do you want to tell my audience who you are and what you do?
Okay. Hi, I'm Mary Houlihan. I'm a comedian and writer. I guess I'm technically an actor. I'm similar to Gabe in that I am an entertainer who got really annoyed at the world. And so now I kind of insert some journalism and stuff into my work. So I have a podcast where I make videos. Some of them are interviews. Some of them I would say are somewhere in between Anthony Bourdain and Conan Without Borders.
Which are some of your favorites of those?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm working on one right now about I think you're friends with her as well, Ida Ashuri.
Mm-hmm.
She coordinated a trip to Tijuana to go visit the Iran national team. And so I made a video diary about our big day going to meet the soccer team.
You went and met them?
Well, we just screamed at them and they signed our stuff.
You got to go to the game?
No, we just went to the hotel they stay at.
Oh my God. Were they like, oh, fans?
Yes, so the reason why it's newsworthy is that they weren't allowed to stay in Los Angeles. They were forced to be in Mexico and fly in and out for every single game. Obviously, that's not fair. You can't rest and ice and stretch as much as the other teams. Also, as you know, in Los Angeles, a lot of the Persian community hates them. They just hate them because they have anything to do with Iran, living in Iran. So they were pleased to have people who were crazy about them to come and visit them and say, oh my God, we all came here from Los Angeles. We took the train all day.
I know Ida is Iranian, but why did she feel like doing this and why did you feel like going?
She went to one of the games at SoFi Stadium and these monarchist Iranian Americans were screaming at her and yelling at her and she was filming them. And so then she put the video on Instagram and it went crazy viral. And all of these people were commenting and DMing and saying, we're gonna kill you and your mother. People were making their own videos saying, this is Ida Ashuri. She's a Muslim that lives in Los. People were going insane. And I think a lot of people in that position would just delete or deactivate their Instagram and get scared off. But she bravely and coolly said, you know what, these guys are wrong and I'm going to plan my own trip with other people that feel the same way as me. We want to cheer for the team because they worked hard to come here.
And is that why you went?
We wanted to document her big day.
I got hooked up with you because, as you said, we had a pretty similar situation of coming from Hollywood and still kind of being in that world, but becoming activated and moving more towards politics. And can you talk about when you started doing that?
Sure. Well, years and years ago, I worked at this place called Seriously TV and we made political vids. I had a famous vid where I totally prank Martin Shkreli. Oh my God. It was like during the 2016 election. So we made all these vids about that. And I really liked doing it. I thought we were making good work, but I also felt like I can't take the heat. I don't like getting insane DMs from Republicans. This is not for me. And so over the years, I kind of just was a regular working actor, writer, and did, volunteering and organizing on the side. I think after the 2024 election, I was just so angry. I was very angry that they let Trump win. It should be easy to beat Trump. He's very unpopular at this time. So I was really, frankly, mad at the media. And I was like, I work in the media.
Right.
All of my peers work in the media. And frankly, they did a really fucking bad job. And now they're all saying, oh, well, he only won because of Joe Rogan. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. If that's even true that this podcaster can influence the election, then how come all of you guys, you fucking actors with millions of followers, couldn't make Trump not win the election?
Have you felt similarly to now about actors and people in Hollywood who are still not getting involved? Do you have that same level of confusion?
I don't have confusion about it. I feel certain about what it is, and it kind of makes me angry. I mean, I've talked to people one-on-one where they say, I know the ICE stuff is sad. I know, no, I care about Palestine. I do, but... And then they say, the person producing my TV show, the person producing my movie, or the people that I would like to produce my movie, they feel differently. So, like, you get why it's tricky, right? And I'm like, I don't get why it's tricky. I think you should just say how you feel if that's how you feel. But they obviously must not really feel that. Otherwise, they would be saying it.
Yeah, I used confusion to be gentle. I feel enraged. And similarly, it's funny to hear you say someone might produce my movie. I'm like, you're complying ahead of time.
I know. That really makes me angry too, because I don't know if you've sold TV shows or gone through that process. I've pitched stuff. I've never sold a TV show. Brag. But I've been through that process, and I think I came out of it being like, oh, that was kind of a waste of time. And look at Subway Takes, look at the Come Town Boys. I should just be making my own stuff and putting it on YouTube, and that seems to be working for other people. So yeah, when I see people obeying in advance, I'm like, your TV show's not gonna get made. You're being silent for no reason. What are you doing?
I've sold TV shows throughout my career and they never got past the script.
Right,
One time
yes.
we shot a pilot. They never got past the scripting stage. I think the way that, now looking back, I think the way that I was kept very compliant was through fear from managers or from people I was working with. It was almost like, don't spook the deer. They'll go away from your show. And I was so inspired then by people who were breaking that mold, but I just never felt like I could do it. I was so scared. And I, similarly to you, feel like what a waste of time and what a weird abusive situation to be in, where I'm not allowed to, I wasn't even allowed to say I was working on something.
Right. Yeah.
Or they'll pull it away. And now I think that was 10 years of learning, but it was also taking so much away from my creativity, taking so much away from what I came into the industry with, which is my own ideas, my own politics, my own personality, which, like you said, I got a taste of people really enjoying through social media. This would make me cry all the time, because I would hear from traditional media, nobody wants this. This is not a thing anybody wants. Even people that were reps of mine, nobody wants this. And then I would look at social media, and myself and my cohort, Allison, our videos would do numbers. My social media would grow. So I felt insane for most of those last 10 years. And then now to come to a point where politics is such a huge thing, not even politics, fascism, inhumanity, cruelty, and to still be met with that. But at least now I'm like, fuck off. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I fired everyone.
Nice.
Separating creativity from politics or what you value or what you see as being wrong in the world. I can't believe I let that happen for years and years. And I know people listening will say, did you really let that happen? And this is kind of a thing where I think I'm being really moderate and I'm actually not.
Wait, say more about that.
I often think that I'm not saying anything controversial. And then someone will say, whoa, that was a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
Was it? I could have said way more. I would hear back from people who had more power than me in the industry or my reps that like, whoa. So I have a terrible idea of what's radical and what isn't. A lot of times someone will be like, that's so radical. And I'm like, is it? I feel like it's just
Yeah.
wanting a good life for people.
Yeah. And I also think I started talking more because I just felt like there was such an obvious disparity between my Hollywood peers and all of my friends that have normal jobs or my friends who have
Mhm.
kids. They talk about politics. They talk about
Mhm.
ICE and Palestine and these things. And I just found that really disturbing. And I kind of felt like this really needs to be corrected. I really think it's a huge problem because you see all these Americans who don't trust the media and they say the media is this and that. And how could you tell them they're wrong when we see that that is happening? So I do kind of feel responsibility that if I be more of a stinker and say this stuff, then I do think it'll catch on. Like, oh, I thought Mary was weird at first, but actually, it seems like people are responding well to what she's saying. So I'll start copying her.
Oh my
I guess
God.
that's also part of my master plan is that people will copy me. And that's a good thing.
Oh my God. The level of you having success and then people being like, wait, I should do what she's doing, not for a moral reason, but for a
Correct.
cynical reason. We'll take it.
Yes.
This is my hot take.
Mm-hmm.
As a queer and trans person in Hollywood, I think I was told, and I think this applies to women as well. I think we were told if you create a show or if you work within the system and you get this stuff, you're going to solve something. You're going to get to this level and you're going to fix stuff, or representation is the only thing that matters. Even if this is bad representation, it's still representation, or your place in this industry is going to change everything. And it's really important for you to spend all of your time seeing your own career as activism. And I think I was lied to.
I think sometimes as a woman or a queer person, you are hired by people who want to pinkwash their own reputation and the things they put their money into. And they just go, oh, but look, I hire all these diverse voices. How could I be bad? And I don't think I want to be used that way.
It's even this idea that at the expense of doing quote unquote real activism, I was told if you just get more queer and trans stuff on TV, it's going to fix everything. And specifically for myself, it's been interesting to see transness become mainstreamed. And then the reaction to that be, we're going to actually legislate you out of existence and put you all in prison.
Okay, what do you think about this? I actually think trans representation does do something, but I actually don't think TV and film does a very good job. I think TikTok is really good, and that's why they sold it for parts. Literally, this is not a conspiracy. The groups that were involved in selling TikTok were the Heritage Foundation, and they say on their own website, our main goals are family values, protecting children from, the stuff that we all know is just a dog whistle for we don't want kids to see content that has gay or trans people in it. And I think on TV and film, it is that thing of the media being this thing, and then regular Americans are like, ugh, I hate these snobs on my TV. So I think regular Americans, I don't think they like seeing a rich trans celebrity, but I think when they're scrolling on their phone and they see the Staples baddie, or they see Cat Black, or any of these people who are down to earth, and they go, oh, this person's actually a lot like me and my friends.
They're living a regular life. They're not a celebrity. They work, they work retail like you do, or they have a partner like you do. They have pets like you do. I mean, even a big thing for me was watching trans YouTubers and realizing that those people are living lives that I thought were impossible for me before I came out. And I think you're right that that's why they're trying to close the internet down and make it only videos from the Heritage Foundation.
Videos of white women being like, I'm tired of working.
Yeah.
Boy, it'd be nice to get married.
Yeah. Or just this obsession with blaming, well, the reason you don't have this is because X, Y, and Z. And they do so much of that. And obviously, if they just make the whole internet that, you're not going to see any queer and trans people. You're not going to see any people that look like you, Black and brown people, women doing anything else. So that's what they want. So that's actually my take. And then your take made it even better of a take. So I cut you off. So in 2024, you said, let's get more involved in doing my own show and making my own show political.
I have this TikTok that I made that I saved and I keep it in my phone. It's me in November 2024, and it's just a throwaway thing of me talking on the couch. And it's me saying, I feel like I should become one of those accounts that tells people what the left needs to do. But I don't want to. Ugh, it seems like such a drag to be one of those accounts and to get the DMs and everything. I don't want to do that. Well, maybe I'll do it subliminally at first. And it's so funny. I look back at it because I'm like, oh, yeah, that is exactly what I have done since then.
Did you change your topics and your guests?
I started my talk show after that. And, I don't talk about it that much because I don't want to embarrass anyone, but I did reach out to some famous people I know. And I said, I think you need to get on Joe Rogan because he has millions of listeners and you're going to get a little bit of flack from your fans for, oh, you went on his show, but it would reach all these people. And they were like, no, shut up, leave me alone. I reached out to some other people. I said, they haven't had a Muslim stand up on Fallon in years and years. That's obviously strange. Mm-hmm. We have like this friend who are Palestinian and this friend who aren't Palestinian, but they're Muslim and they're very good at stand-up. They have specials out that they could promote. Why don't we work together and just contact the people we know at these shows and say, hey, maybe it'd be a good idea. And people were like, shut up, leave me out of it.
Because it was like, don't turn the spotlight on me.
I was reaching out to people who aren't Muslim saying, let's help. Let's advocate for some of these people to get a late night set because I think that would be important representation and kind of we could educate people what's going on. They said, I don't want to be seen doing that. It'll hurt my reputation to do that. Mm-hmm. So then I started a talk show where I interview people like you and people like Lana Salah, who's the Palestinian comic, Ahmed Al-Qadri, who's a Yemeni comic, and try to have these political conversations, but also be charming and funny and have jokes inserted. I guess basically it's similar to Real Time with Bill Maher, but if it was further to the left, let's talk about these things, but make it funny and digestible.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to try to get people to do the bare minimum because now we're talking about, well, does representation matter? But it is kind of interesting to reframe it as representation within stand-up or within comedians who are going on shows to talk about themselves and their own lives and their comedy. Mm-hmm. And it's more personal rather than just acting a role. It's just that if they start doing that, they're going to be seen as DEI or not trustworthy as a booker or something.
Years ago, Patty Harrison did a monologue on Fallon making fun of Trump for being anti-trans. And that's what the whole monologue was about. Why can't we do that now for people who are, their people are under attack?
So you started your show. I've been a guest on it and it's not Charlie Rose or something.
Right.
You're a good interviewer because you do laugh. Not that it needs to be joke, but that the people on there are funny.
Right.
And might not just be there to educate or cry or something.
People sometimes say this, but they don't believe it when they talk about Lenny Bruce or George Carlin or Richard Pryor. When we think of the best, this is what comedy should be. People always reference those types of people who do hard truths and politics, dangerous thought through humor. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of been feeling like we have to do that because look at journalism. They can't use the word genocide. They can't use the word racism. Mm-hmm. They have editorial standards where they have to say the act, comma, which some would view as racist, comma. They can't just call things how they are, which is extremely needed right now.
Yeah.
So it would be nice if I could just joke about nonsense. That would be fun.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I do feel like we have to talk about this stuff because other people aren't doing it.
It is interesting because I feel the Overton window moves, but then kind of doesn't. For example, when you're talking about Lenny Bruce and all of those people, probably at the time they were disliked. Now they're viewed, I think it's like a lot of times you see stuff where these people are viewed as legends. And so people now are like, oh, they're legends, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, they're legends. But then if that person was alive at the time, I wonder how they would feel about that
Yeah.
person's work if they would be sitting at home going, this is too political and this is so wrong for this moment.
Have you seen the George Carlin doc on HBO?
No.
It talks about how early in his career he really wasn't political at all. So he had all these appearances on Carson and the other shows, just doing observational comedy. And he had addiction issues, and then he had money issues because of his addiction.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Issues. And then he was like, wow, I really need to do more stand-up and go on tour because I need money. And he was also feeling like we feel. I think he was just very frustrated at the world. And I'm not going to shut up. If I have to do comedy, I'm really just going to be honest now. So I think for sure, probably people at the time were like, he's being fake. He didn't used to talk about this.
Mhm. Why does he have to bring this into comedy? Why does he have to, make things political in comedy? I just came here to have a good time. Now, those same people probably look back and they're like, I got to see George Carlin at his prime. This is what drives me nuts. I was going through Getty Images, which has been invaluable for finding old clips of political events that have happened. But so I found this stuff about the trial of the Chicago 7, and I was posting videos of it. And there were so many boomers that were saying, we knew about these people. They were legends. They're great anti-war activists. But then you see videos from the reaction at the time, and it's the exact same thing you would say about the Palestinian protesters at Columbia. It's the exact same thing you would say about the students killed at Kent State. It's the exact same thing. And I wonder how it gets to, how their minds get twisted into looking back at something and seeing it as great versus at the time not being able to see the forest for the trees. And I wonder how that will manifest in the future for what these people are doing. It's like that the book, One Day Everyone Will Have Been Against This. And yeah, that's what's going to happen. I feel like there's going to be so much comedy from now where at the time it was hated, and then when you look back, all these people are going to say, oh, yeah, I thought this was great the whole time. And thank God they were saying this. And I was always, because people don't want to be on, I think maybe they don't want to be on the losing side.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely it. That reminds me of, did you see the South Park episode with Netanyahu?
No.
Well, first of all, it's amazing. I think it's the only comedy TV show that has depicted Netanyahu. So huge applause for them. That's amazing. But the plot of the episode is that Kyle's family is the only Jewish family in town. And so his mom, and everyone's using Polymarket or Kalshi or something to bet on Israel-Palestine. And so anytime ladies see Kyle's mom or the kids see Kyle, they have their phones out and they're like, so what do you make of what's going on over there?
No.
Yeah, and they're trying to gauge how they feel. So then Kyle's mom gets so upset and says, oh, this is such bullshit. So she flies out to Tel Aviv and meets Netanyahu and just rants at him, I guess, probably what Matt Stone's personal beliefs are
Sure.
of you are making life for American Jews fucking hell because everyone's looking to us to blah, blah, blah. And we don't want to be blamed for the fucking shit you're doing and you're killing kids. And now you're putting us in. And she just rants on him and the show slowly fades out. But yes, a lot of people are doing that thing where I think they don't want to make their own opinion. They're kind of gauging what are other people thinking and wanting to be on the winning side. People also say being on the left means that you're right too early. Yeah, I think we know that later people will look back at this time and be like, wow, it was so fascist. I really stood up.
It's like the book One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El-Akkad. I just wanted to get the book title right. And now that we have so much ability to film stuff, I wonder if people will start backtracking or saying that this was AI or whatever.
Yeah.
Once it becomes clear that it's not aging well. It's so interesting because part of my thing is that I think that a lot of people on the right are smarmy. Part of it is they don't necessarily believe what they are seeing or doing, but they want to be on the winning side. They don't want to feel vulnerability. They don't want to feel as though they have any weaknesses that can be exploited. They want to be on the side of white supremacy or, in their mind, whatever it is that will keep them safe. I talked about this in a Substack of mine where when I was younger and I would get bullied, it was hard because I could never beat the bullies because I would get upset and I would start crying or I would be emotional or I would be affected by what was happening. And the bullies were always going to win because they could walk away. They had the upper hand of being like, we don't care about anything. We don't care about anything. And that's how it feels. It feels as though the right is like that. We can just do what we want. We can get away with what we want. And the left is at our mercy. They don't want to be on the receiving end of ICE because ICE has guns. They don't want to be on the receiving end of legislation that will make it hard for them to live their lives. They don't want to be on the side that has any emotions. It's easier to be the person going like, ha, 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 boo, like libtards, blah, 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 than it is to be a person with empathy and compassion. I get it.
That makes me think too, the right is worse, but I notice with liberals or like centrist types, they seem to really want to not be emotional. Sometimes they seem like if you tell them, oh, this horrible infringement on our rights is happening, we need to do something. They're like, no, they'll rationalize it and they seem to like romanticize being super rational and telling you why this is normal. Even I did that when I was younger. I'd be like, well, they've always been tapping the phones. Duh.
Acceptance of the status quo, that leftists have too many feelings and are going based on feelings. I just did something today about how, look, I'm autistic. I love the facts. I'm a journalist. However, people like to frame emotions and the facts as diametrically opposed. If you have emotions about something, you find out the facts, you're allowed to be emotional about that something happened. Like, I was looking at Reddit about the ICE shooting today. As we're recording this, a man was shot and killed by ICE in Maine. We don't have any more information other than that right now because it's still early. And I was looking at Reddit and it said, ICE officer involved shooting, man dead. And someone was commenting, ICE murdered someone again. And one of the comments was someone saying, look, I'm on your side. I don't like ICE. But you're saying this before we have any of the facts. And the other person said, we have a fact, which is ICE shot and someone died. And this person said, no, I'm also against ICE. I'm with you. I just think, we don't know the circumstances. What was
they
this
shouldn't
guy
be shooting
doing?
anyone. They shouldn't have guns.
But he was saying, what was this guy doing? What did the officer do? We don't have all the information.
Yeah.
And my takeaway from that was, even if we don't have all the information, what information would make that okay?
Right.
What information would change your emotional reaction to that? And in this story that I was covering about a married couple that were taken away by ICE in front of their daughter's school and detained in front of children, screaming children. I told the story and then I said they entered the country illegally, but they have no criminal history anywhere in the world. Now, if you were waiting for the end of this story for me to tell you the immigration status of this couple so that you can then say, oh, I have the facts and I no longer feel the emotions, that's not having the facts. That's not, oh, now you have the facts about what this, what type of person it was. Suddenly this is fine.
And I think also like what I really think about a lot with ICE is that it's new, that it's only 20 years old, and we had illegal immigration and illegal immigration enforcement before that. We don't need to have ICE. Also, ICE doesn't need to carry guns. People aren't realizing that they're accepting so many things pushed on them by saying, well, of course they would shoot someone. They don't need to be there, period. They don't need to have a gun. It gets into if someone is here illegally and our system says that's not allowed, you have to be deported if we find out you're doing that, it doesn't even make sense for them to be detained. I think that's also something that a lot of people take for granted without questioning at all. It costs more for taxpayers for us to be detaining these people, and our taxes go to these private corporations. That's stupid. That's them getting rich and tricking racist people into getting robbed. That's not okay. I feel defensive of those racist people even. That's not fair. How dare you do that? It makes more sense if these people are awaiting their immigration court for them to be paying rent at their apartment, to be going to work every day and paying taxes. It makes no sense for them to be detained. And I feel like that's such a piece of this that no one is explaining properly. And people are just taking it completely for granted without any questioning why these centers are being built and why people are getting shipped into. We don't need to do that. It doesn't deter immigration. It doesn't do anything. It makes people rich who own those buildings. And that's it. So I wish that would get covered more. I think, of course, it's fucking sad for Black and brown people to get shot. Of course, that's fucking sad. But some people are just not going to hear that news story, unfortunately, because they're racist and they're going to say, oh, I hear this all the time and they're exaggerating. I want more people to explain how economically this doesn't make sense and who Core Civic and Geo Group are and why they're not helping you.
The federal government just bought 2 Core Civic facilities, which are the private prison groups that are working and serving as ICE detention centers.
No one's looking into any of that. It's obviously there's corruption and there's money moving around in that exchange. We should be looking at that.
It's completely corrupt. It's people making money off of your fear of illegal immigrants. And it's not about what you're being sold that it's about. And if you don't care about people, but you care about money, then the money doesn't add up and doesn't make sense.
And it's your tax dollars.
Right.
We are paying for this.
Exactly.
And we're paying $1 billion to go to war every single day. $1 billion every single day to be at war in Iran. I wish the media would talk about but we know they don't want to. They want people to be culture war, left versus right, racist people versus not racist people. They'll never say these are the corporations that are making these bad things happen. And here's how you can organize against them.
I mean, I went to school for journalism. If you listen to this podcast, you know I bring that up a lot. I'm sorry. I went to school for journalism, and it was always very pushed into us to say allegedly, but there's that quote that I love that if someone tells you it's raining, it's not your job to say someone said it was raining and someone said it wasn't. It's your job to look out the fucking window.
Yeah.
And I think we've forgotten that as journalists. I think we are not allowed to use certain words and have to dance around things.
Yeah. Racist, fascist, or genocide. There's a lot of words that they say that's too presumptive. You're assuming the person's intent.
The action, which some have called a genocide.
Yeah.
It's also interesting with passive language because also as a journalist, we're taught not to use passive language. Police love passive language. So part of our job, I mean, again, this was years and years ago when I was in college, but part of our job was to take that passive language and make it active. So officer-involved shooting should be an officer shot someone.
Yes.
there's certain ways to read these stories that make no fucking sense when you first read them. Another thing that I talked about on my Instagram was this story that was out of Bakersfield that was presented as a bank robbery.
Yes, I saw this.
It was like, this was a bank hostage situation. That's what every article said. And then as you read into it deeper, as I read into it deeper, the bank is the bottom floor. The bank is renting out that space from the Kern County Superintendent of Schools. The guy that was holding people hostage was holding hostage 10 employees of the Kern County Superintendent of Schools. And he was doing that because he had a child custody case thing that he was working, that he wanted attention to.
Mm-hmm.
If you just read that, it would be, this was a bank robbery, bank employees were held hostage.
Yeah.
And it seems to have stemmed from the fact that the building has Chase Bank written on the top of it. But that doesn't give me any information. You're taking it as what you're looking at, and you're not looking into what else could be going on, or who actually owns that building, or what the guy's gripe actually was, or whatever. And so that becomes a passive false story where you're asking the audience to fill in blanks that they're going to fill in incorrectly.
It just perfectly illustrates these unconscious biases that the general public has. Like a bank robbery is, we think that's more logical, the story that would be happening there. People think that Americans are so criminal and so violent, so we're thinking that. And then once you get into why is it assumes that that's the story and not, a man acting out over this custody thing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, well, that's because a lot of people that are working in the media, I think consciously or unconsciously, that's a story about
An unfair system.
About someone who is maybe poor and doesn't have all of the resources they need. And
Right.
that's a more complicated story, or maybe a more depressing story, or maybe even your personal politics go against it. Maybe you're like, I don't want to talk about people needing better resources.
It's easier to say, oh, this was just a greedy guy that we can understand why he robbed a bank. It also doesn't explain the trauma and the issues with the Kern County Superintendent building, what was going on there. And so I do think people are filling in the blanks when they hear officer involved shooting. What they hear is, oh, maybe someone shot the officer.
Right.
Maybe this had to do with the narrative already in my mind that I've been told people are running into ICE officers with their cars, so I can already fill that in. And so it's this passive language that happens. Some are calling it a genocide. When I know that we were taught allegedly, and make sure these things are, and it is important to say, did the charges get dropped? Did they not get dropped when something happens? There have been a lot of situations where they'll say this illegal immigrant was going for a green card, but they had a charge of aiding and abetting a robbery. That charge was dismissed. If the charge was dismissed, he doesn't have a charge.
Why bring it up? Yeah, it doesn't exist.
So that is important. And I don't think people have enough literacy or enough ability to go through to figure that out on their own.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if the media would place things in a way that made sense, or that said he had charges stemming from a robbery, but those charges were dismissed. When charges are dismissed, it means that that person didn't do,
And also, you're not doing that for every single person in the story. You're not saying the arresting officer who in the year 2017 was blah, blah, blah. You're just doing it for the one brown person in the story. That's strange.
It was also really interesting. Credit to the New York Times, where no credit is due. There's an article I read from them about a man who was pulled over and arrested, and there was a line in it about how the officer doing the arrest, this was in Wyoming, said, we don't typically ask for the IDs of the passengers when we stop a car, but this time we did because there's no rule that says that you can't. And it was a white van full of brown people going to work at a construction site. And so they stop them, and he says, well, there's no reason why we can't ask for everyone's IDs. It's like, well, I wonder why you did. And then there was a line that said, while this is true, many immigrants and people who don't speak English as a first language, something like that, do not know this.
Mm.
And according to so-and-so data, many immigrants might not know this information. And I was like, that's wonderful. Exactly. Yes. That is a sentence that you look up, you get the stats for, and it goes right there.
Right. And it also like tells you, the reader,
This is unusual.
Not explicitly, but it kind of tells you that it gives you the idea that you could intervene or you could share this information with people that, hey, if you get pulled over, you don't have to do this. You can say this instead.
Mm-hmm. I had no idea that if you're a passenger, you don't have to hand over your ID. I didn't know that. So even I'm learning that. So then if I didn't know that, I can look at this article and go, well, if I didn't know that, why would these guys know that?
Mm-hmm.
I could see this happening to me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you and your show and more about you?
Find me on YouTube, The Mary Houlihan Show. And I'm on Instagram and Threads and TikTok at Mary Houli.
Nice. And yeah, go watch the episode that I'm on.
Yeah.
I really said some shit in that episode, and then I got no flack for it, which I was so surprised.
That's also one of the goals of the show, to show that I think every single person I know has tons of things in their head. They're like, if I say this, I'm going to get in trouble. If I say, everyone's going to be mad at me. We're demonstrating that no one's going to get mad. Or if there is one weird commenter, they're a weird commenter. It's not the end of the world.
Thank you so much again. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
1,000 Natural Shocks, a Bad with Money podcast, is hosted by me, Gabe Dunn, and edited by me, Gabe Dunn. Theme song by Zach Sherwin and Sam Barbera. Bye.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.